Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, verse number 28. Manyatvam kalam ishanam anadi nidhanam vibhum samam charantam sarvatra bhutanam yanmita kalai. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. My Lord, I consider your Lordship to be eternal time, the supreme controller, without beginning and end, and all-pervasive one. In distributing your mercy, you are equal to everyone. The decision between the living entities, between living beings are due to social intercourse. Purport. Kunti Devi knew that Krishna was neither her nephew nor ordinary family member of her parental house. She knew perfectly well that Krishna is the primeval Lord who lives in everyone's heart as a super soul, Paramatma. Another name of Paramatma feature of the Lord is Kala, or eternal time. Eternal time is a witness of all our actions, good and bad, and thus resultant reactions are destined by him. It is no use saying that we do not know why and for what we are suffering. We may forget the misdeed for which we may suffer at this present moment, but we must remember that Paramatma is our constant companion, and therefore he knows everything, past, present, and future. And because the Paramatma feature of the Lord destines all actions and reactions, he is the supreme controller also. Without his sanction, not a blade of grass can move. The living beings are given as much freedom as they deserve, and misuse of that freedom is the cause of suffering. The devotees of the Lord do not misuse their freedom, and therefore they are good sons of the Lord. Others who misuse freedom are put into miseries destined by eternal Kala. The Kala offers the conditioned soul both happiness and miseries. It is all predestined by eternal time. As we have miseries uncalled for, so we may have happiness, so also without being asked for. For there are predestined by Kala. No one is therefore either an enemy or the friend of the Lord. Everyone is suffering and enjoying the result of his own destiny. This destiny is made by the living beings in course of social intercourse. Everyone here wants to lord it over the material nature, and thus everyone creates his own destiny under the supervision of the Lord. He is all-pervading, and therefore he can see everyone's activities. And because the Lord has no beginning or end, he is known also as eternal time, Kala. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, welcome to the reading of Srimad Bhagavatam on this beautiful day. Please forgive me, I didn't get a chance to put my thoughts together. I didn't know it was my turn today. However, I think I'll try to put a few words in terms of what I've heard from senior Vaishnavas or small realizations that I may have had. So today, I think this pretty much covers our science of self-realization topic of karma. Why do bad things happen to good people, or why do good things happen to bad people? And this pretty much covers everything. So in summary, if I can put my notes here quickly, we are in verse number 28, right? In summary, what happened so far is in the prayers of Queen Kunti. From verse number 18 to 20, Queen Kunti describes, how one can know the Supreme Lord. And then verse number 21 to 25, she shared her realization about how she was fortunate, meaning how Queen Kunti felt the protection of the Lord at every moment. And then now verse number 26 to 28, this section is describing about the qualification to approach the Lord. So the verse number 26 it talked about akinchana gocharam. What it means is those who are not intoxicated by like janma, aishwarya, shruti, shrivar, meaning if somebody who has a high birth or who's very who possesses a lot of wealth, all this becomes disqualifications to know the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So who the Supreme Lord is a property of akinchana gocharam, meaning who are not affected by these tints of janma, aishwarya, shruti, shri, and everything, right? And then the next one is akinchana vitaya, meaning the property of the materially impoverished, people who become exhausted by material, by material energies. They become more eligible to know the Supreme Lord. Now, one may ask a question, if Krishna is only, for the people who are rich and whatnot, are they at a disadvantage versus those who are poor and totally material exhausted? Are they at an advantage of knowing the Supreme Lord, right? So in this verse, Mother Kunti is clarifying the things where she's saying, you're equal to everyone. And how is she? How is Krishna equal to everyone? Just like time, she's giving a comparison to time. Just like how Kala is equal to everyone, and how the Supreme Lord as a controller is equal to everyone. So let us touch a few points here, right? I think some very interesting points that Srila Prabhupada brings about in the purport, and as well as even in the translation, right? So, my Lord, I consider you, your Lordship, to be eternal time, the supreme controller, without the beginning and the end, and all-pervasive one. So Krishna, he himself says in Bhagavad Gita, right, when he shows his universal form, and Arjuna says, who are you? I'm bewildered. Who are you? Then Krishna says, Kalosmi lokat krut pravurto. He says, I am eternal time, the destroyer of everything. So that's one nature of eternal time. That's the time energy of the Lord. It destroys everything. So you can see in this material world how everything is getting destroyed moment to moment unless we put some energy to maintain it. So you build a house, you just leave it, over time it'll just get destroyed, right? And then the Supreme Lord is also the controller. One may ask a question: if the Kala is a destroyer of everything, is that the supreme supreme energy? Because then is there anything higher than that, right? But Krishna is above Kala. He's above the eternal time, and he's a supreme controller. We see that in the Bhagavad Gita, in Brahma Samhita verse, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana. No, the other verse where it says Sarva Karana, right? He's a cause of all causes. So he's a controller of everything else. And then he's big, and when you compare Krishna with time again, he doesn't have a beginning, he doesn't have an end. Ananta, he's always there, and he's ever expanding, and he's Ananta, And then all pervasive, and he's at every place, right? I spoke about this example of how Krishna, while he may, he may not be in front of us, and you may feel that he's not watching anything in front of us, but he knows everything. We go into that example once again once we get to the purport, right? And then after Kunti is describing these features of the Supreme Lord, she's saying about, in distributing your mercy, you're equal to everyone. So how can one understand this, right? The earlier verses said, the qualifications of, it's much easier for somebody to approach the Lord when they're materially exhausted. But again, how is that he's equal to everyone? And this is a question that's always posed, this is a question that comes to everyone, right? And this is a question that came to Yudhishthira Maharaj once in the past, when he performed the Aswamedha Yajna and Shishupal blasphemed the Supreme Lord 100 times, and then his head is cut off. Then he merges into the body of the Supreme Lord. And at that time, Yudhishthira Maharaj also asks the question. Actually, before that, Parikshit Maharaj asked a question to Sukadeva Goswami of, how can we know that? I think this is towards the end of 7th canto or 6th canto, where he poses a question: how come the Lord is partial to the devotees and he's impartial? When you take the general population, right, they're divided into 3 categories, right? They're divided into the demoniac and the deva, or the demigods. Into these categories. So we always see in different pastimes, it appears that the Lord is very partial to the devotee or the demigods, and he's not favorable to the demons. So Parikshit Maharaj asks that question: how come that Lord is biased, right? We call in the corporate world, why are you biased, right? And then Sukadeva Goswami narrates a story where Yudhishthira Maharaj also asks this questions: how do you see that the Lord is biased? How come the Lord is biased? And then Narad Muni narrates the story, the pastime of Prahlad Maharaj and Hiranyakashipu. And then, in order to clear this whole doubt of that the Lord is not biased but equal to everyone. Now, one may ask a question, but when you read the pastimes of the Lord, it seems that the Lord is definitely biased. He's doing favors to Indra, he's doing favors to all the demigods. Hiranyakashipu gets killed, but Indra gets chastised only, right? So many pastimes like that. So how do we understand this, right? So it's a very subtle point, but easy to understand if you're a devotee of the Lord. The key thing is when we see that the Lord is biased or unbiased, the point to understand is Krishna says, whoever comes to me and takes shelter of me, I will give him my protection, right? Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam praja aham tvam sarva papabhyo mokshayishyami ma suciha. Or he also says, ye yadaman prapadyante tam tadaima bhajamyaham. To whatever level you surrender to me, I will protect you, right? I will give you shelter. So that is the principle on which we need to look at if the Lord is equal. The Lord is not looking at who has high birth, who is a demigod, who is a demon, who is, who's worshiping me, who's not worshiping me, right? When you look at all these different categories, the Lord is only looking at, if you come and take shelter of me, I will protect you. Doesn't matter if you're a demon, if you're a demigod, if you have accumulated unlimited number of sins, or if you have unlimited amount of piety, it doesn't matter. I will give you shelter. So that is the difference. We should not be looking at, because the Lord killed someone, that means he's against him. Or if the Lord protected someone, he's favorable to him. The key thing is the Lord, to whatever level we surrender, the Lord will protect us. And what does the Lord protect? That is another thing to think about. The Lord, usually he doesn't say, I will protect your material possessions. He will protect us from our sufferings, yes, meaning when it becomes intolerable for us, he takes us to a level where we can, go to our stretch zone, but he will always be there to protect us when we feel that we cannot handle the amount of suffering that we're getting. It's only a matter of us not knowing that, what our limits are, but the Supreme Lord knows our limits. So, and that's what we see here, right? I think it's wonderfully depicted in the pastime of Lord Rama giving shelter to Vibhishan, where Vibhishan, he's a demon, but he comes and surrenders to the Supreme Lord. And then this famous statement of Lord Ramachandra saying, where Sugriva has an argument, in the assembly saying that we should not, allow Vibhishan to come into our party because he's a spy. And then Lord Ramchandra has a discussion with all his ministers, including Hanuman, and then everybody puts their opinion, and finally the Lord declares, says, if a soul or if anybody comes and surrenders to me, and may it be Ravana too, and we can see how much of an offense that Ravana has committed, may it be Ravana too, I'll give my Abhaya Hasta, and then he says, I will give my fear, my hand of fearlessness. And that's how he's going to protect. So that's how we can see here, while Mother Kunti was explaining the two verses, that she was taking more the perspective of the individual soul, what things are favorable for us, right? For us, what she's saying is, if one is materially exhausted, they can easily surrender to the Lord. If one has high birth, high parentage, materially very opulent, it becomes very difficult for them to surrender. That's what she's saying. And then how do we apply this principle in our own life, right? This principle of, yes, by my own accord, and later on we see here, right, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains how by the accord of our karmic activities, we may get suffering, everyone is suffering and enjoying as the result of their own destiny. This destiny is made by the living entities in the due course of social interaction. So as we do our dealings within the material society, we may come across, and what if we fall in the category of the first two words, or the first verse, for example, right? The earlier verse, where we may get high parentage, we may get high birth, a lot of opulence, then it's a disadvantage. Then what do we do about it, right? So I think this is very nicely explained by Srila Rupa Goswami in Upadeshamrita, or Nectar of Devotion, right? He says that there are 6 favorable things and 6 unfavorable things that we can engage in. So Atyahara, Prayasasa, Prajalpa, Niyamagrahat, Janasanganscha, Laulyamcha, right? It gives us principles. So while one may have opulence, one should not put too much endeavor to protect those material acquisitions. So in doing it moderately, and Srila Prabhupada very nicely said, we should do activities just to put the soul and the body together. In doing that activity, one will feel humbled, one feels, that humility gives us an opportunity to surrender to the Lord. Now, what if we fall in the second category, right? The second category where we are going through a lot of misery. Yes, it's an opportunity to surrender to the Supreme Lord, but the mind also bothers us, right? If there is physical challenges, one's health is not well, if there is material challenges of, maintaining family, maintaining our life, it also becomes very difficult to surrender. Difficult to, how do you say, for example, focus on sadhana, we may think about all the troubles that may be coming in our life, right? While that gives us some innate or default nature to surrender to the Supreme Lord, we can also do certain things which can enhance that surrender, right? And that is the surrender principle that Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives when he talks about Sharanagati, right? When in explaining about Sarva Dharman Parityajya, the Sharanagati principles that Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives, he says, what are the 6 principles of Sharanagati? He says about Anukulyasya Sankalpa, Pratikulyasya Vivarjanam, Rakshete Shvasho, Goprate Varnam Tata. He says Anukulyasya Sankalpa. One should accept what is favorable to Krishna consciousness. Pratikulyasya Vivarjanam, meaning one should reject what is not favorable to Krishna consciousness. Again, this goes back to the 6 principles given by Srila Rupa Goswami. Then Rakshete Shvasho. This is very important when we fall in the second verse category, when we are suffering in this material world, or our material nature is giving us problems, right? Rakshayati Vishwaso. One should have faith that Krishna will protect me. And then second one is Goprate Varnam Tata. Krishna will protect me, and Krishna is the maintainer. This is a very, anything that we take in Krishna consciousness, it's very holistic. when Krishna gives one principle, it becomes very holistic in the sense like one may say, okay, you're asking me to do this. What about this? What about this? What about this? Right? So I'll give a better explanation. When these two principles of Rakshaiti Vishwasva, Gopurte Varnam Tata, they go very hand in hand because especially for Grahasthas, one may say, yes, I have faith that Krishna will protect me and whatnot, right? Now we may have dependents, right? We may have children, we have family members that we are taking care of and whatnot. And often we may feel that we are okay for ourselves, but we may be worried about our dependents. What will happen to them? How will they survive or whatnot, right? The principle of Goptra Varnam Tata comes in very, it becomes a holistic thing where the Lord says, I am the maintainer. So we may think as Grahasthas, I am maintaining my family, my job is maintaining me, or what will, how will our children maintain themselves, right? So while we are the immediate doers here, but the Goptrate Varnam Tata gives us the principle of how the Lord is the maintainer of all living entities. We are not the maintainer. We may be just a hand in between, like a broker, but the Lord is the maintainer of all living entities. And if we really look at it, right, how long our children are with us, right? Yes, at a very young age, we're trying to help shape their future. But once they go to college, pretty much, after they're done with their college, they have their own life and they'll maintain themselves. Interestingly, something that gave me a strong realization about this was somebody was sharing some WhatsApp videos that somebody sent me, right? And he's not a devotee of the Lord, but he was sharing his perspective of how people accumulate so much wealth and how much they put so much endeavor so that their family members will be happy or their next generations will be happy. And this person, what he was explaining is usually the amount of wealth that we accumulate comes in handy maximum of 1 or 2 generations deep. That's it. It cannot, after that 1 or 2 generations, your family will restart again. I'm trying to put the words rightly. It's a Telugu video. Like what he says is, say if I am endeavoring a lot to make a lot of money so that my next generations will be happy, then my children, maybe they will benefit from it. And then the children after that, meaning my grandchildren may benefit a little bit. And that is the maximum extent to which it will go. And after that, pretty much they will become the generation after that, they pretty much have to start from scratch, he was sharing. The principle of that is like this, basically, right? He gives not a great example from a Krishna conscious perspective, but an analogy that will really help us understand. And the reason why I'm sharing this is each one of us can apply this principle with our own children itself. The key thing what he shares is, say if there's a hunter, and then he goes out hunting, into the jungle. So he builds a lot of traits and a lot of skill set by going out hunting, right? Now, if he takes his child and he teaches him how to hunt, he's going to get that skill set. But what if he goes out hunting and then he accumulates all the activities of hunting and stores it in a room and he passes it to the next generation? What the next generation does is they don't have a need to go out. So they will never build that skill set and they'll be totally dependent on this one. And then what happens is, because of that, the following generation, they will never acquire a skill from the second generation. So in that way, if you look at it, anything everybody earned, anything, even it may be name, fame, wealth or whatnot, it becomes only 2 generations deep. So, and he says then there is no point in wasting your time trying to accumulate a lot of wealth, because end of the day, you're not enjoying it. All you're doing is you're trying to pass it to the next generation. And then it's only and then he gives a nice examples. He gives examples of famous politicians where, maximum they could only survive for 2 generations. Then he gives examples of multi-millionaires where only 2 generations survived, and after that nobody could continue the legacy and stuff like that. So basically, the reason why I'm sharing this is I thought it was very important to understand that principle as we raise our children, right? Let them go out, meaning what I mean is not kick them out of the house, but let them go out or when they're exploring things in their life, right? Even as young children or whatnot, as long as they are safe, it's fine. But then it's important for them to explore things and build the skill set rather than us doing things for them. There are many simple examples we can do, right? So often what we do is if a child is cleaning the temple, for example, or cleaning a house or doing something, often what we do is we are in a rush to see them fail when they do things. For example, if they're asked to sweep a floor or if they spill water or something like that, right? Often we jump in quickly to correct them or to help them very quickly. It's okay when they do mistakes. The key thing to understand is it's okay for them to do some mistakes and learn from their mistakes rather than protecting them every moment from their mistakes. Sorry, I completely diverted here. But in essence, the reason what I'm trying to share is we need to understand that Krishna is the maintainer and the protector here for us. And we do not have to be there every moment for our children, as long as we give them some skill set. And it's okay if they do some mistakes and whatnot, and then they will survive on their own. Yep, sorry, I covered a variety of things here, but in essence, I think what I want to highlight in summary is remembering that principle of Anukulyasya Sankalpa Pratikulyasya Vyavarjanam, Rakshayati Vishwasho, Gopruthe Varnam Tata, and then last one is being humble. One can surrender to the Supreme Lord only by being humble. This is what I would like to say. Anybody has any comments or anything to add here?
Super excellent realizations you always have. Please don't prepare yourself next time, as you know. just come in and walk in and talk. That's the best thing. You have a lot of realizations. My heartfelt appreciations to you. I was thinking when you said this last realization about Krishna is the maintainer, no matter what. We think that we maintain ourselves, but it's not that. And you also mentioned about leave the children, let them take care of it. So, yes, Krishna is the maintainer, Krishna is the maintainer. That doesn't mean that we can just sit idly, so Krishna is the maintainer, right? So basically, what you also said is Krishna is the maintainer in that way, that Krishna is giving us an intelligence. We need to make use of that intelligence and then try ourselves. In that way, Krishna will maintain us. Is that a true statement, Prabhu, or we'll just sit there?
Yes, Prabhuji, absolutely, very true, right? I mean, see, there are two things, right? I mean, for me, what I see it is like this, right? Like I said, I was telling earlier, right? Everything that Krishna gives is very holistic. When for me, for some reason, I absolutely love Bhagavad Gita, especially to apply in our life. And then when you look at the different principles of Bhagavad Gita, for example, when you look at karma, right? What I feel, at least my own realization is, for every action there is an equal and opposite. I mean, not equal. For every action there's a reaction, right? So when we say Krishna is the maintainer, and somebody says, I'm not going to do anything, I'll just do whatever, I'll just do bhakti, and then I will surrender to the Supreme Lord, and then I will hope that Krishna comes and maintains me. Some people fall in that category, who can, that is favorable for them. And then we see great examples. We should not be imitating this, but we'll see so many great examples, right? Like Jayadeva Goswami, who just leaves his son there and walks away. And we see in Srimad Bhagavatam, I'm trying to remember the story. Who's that Acharya who strikes off that verse? And then he goes to take a bath, and Krishna and Balram come with, where he's unable to provide for his family, and then he surrenders to the Lord, saying that you're the maintainer. I'm not going to do anything. He go, and then Krishna and Balram come with a cart full of food for his family. Somebody may fall in that category. Most of us, we are not in that category, right? So for us, it is, again, karma action, right? We take an action. So we say, I'm going to do my job well. I'm going to work, try to find a job. I'm going to work hard, or I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And when Krishna explains that aspect, he also says, yes, there is endeavor from your side, but again, if that endeavor will be fulfilled or not, that's from my side. He's the sanctioner, right? So not doing anything, if that works for somebody, that's well and good. Doing something, but every action has a reaction to it. I hope I'm able to convey the message I'm trying to say, Prabhuji. Yeah. So yeah, it depends upon what level we are in and what is our desire and what action we want to take. That's my humble realization, Prabhuji. When I look at great acharyas who just leave it for Krishna, yes, that's very inspirational. When we look at other people in the material world that are trying hard, working hard to maintain themselves, that's another principle to look at. Anybody else wants to add to this one?
You also mentioned about yayathamam prapadyante. So I
Yes.
think degree of surrender, and it also depends on how we surrender and how we approach the Lord. I think you mentioned in that statement as well. Anyway,
Yes,
thank you, Prabhu.
Yes, thank you. All right, if nobody else has any comments, we'll end it here for today. Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.